Mitakai Oyesin, all my relations, that's all of you. You're all family. You're all dear to me. This is Mark Still, and I am moving forward valiantly with my series of conversations, the theme, How to Heal America. Today, I bring a Philadelphia native, Hayden Terrell. I will let her introduce herself to you, and then we will get into this. So take it away, Terrell.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hayden Terrell. I'm a longtime Philadelphian. I currently work for one of the major universities here, and I'm very active in my community as a community activist.
Wow, I'm getting somebody of note today. This is fantastic. So, Terrell, as you know, the theme is how to heal America, a broken America. It's interesting. The last two conversations I had, and I have no idea at this point exactly how I'm going to post them. So I might decide to post yours next. I'm not sure yet. But the last two conversations I had were not Americans. One was a Muslim woman from Kuwait City, and the other is a white Polish Christian who is now living in England. So I wanted to get their opinions, their perspectives on what's happening here. But as it turns out, it's not just that I'm talking about America. I'm really talking about the world, because the same
Absolutely.
issues that were faced here in America are also being faced in Kuwait, also being faced in England, and many other countries.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is why when the actual rioting and the actual coming forth of the racist things that were going on in the U.S., you notice it didn't just hit here. You saw that it hit London. It went to Canada. It went across the world. So it is worldwide. And when you say you want to heal something, you can't just heal it in one section. You have to heal the whole wound. And the world is the wound. We can't just heal the U.S.
So very, very loaded and yet very broad question. How do we do that? How do we find healing?
Well, you've already started part of the healing by talking. This is something that has not been done in years, Mark. You know, people, they jump around the conversation or they'll dance around it, but they never actually say what the actual problem is. And the problem is in this country that it's always been a racist country, always. It has not gone away. It's been tucked back a little, and every time it gets shoved under the rug. And then, unfortunately, with the executive leader that we have in place now, number 45, he's brought out racism like it's a whole new face now. And unfortunately, it looks like it's a good face in the U.S. and not a face that needs to be turned down or put away. Not that I'm saying I want it to be turned down or put away. I want it to be discussed. I want it to be brought out into the light. I want people to see now, well, they're seeing now what the actual racism is. It's not just in policing, okay? It's in the workforce. It's in your housing. It's in your children's play. It's in how am I going to be rescued? How am I going to be taken care of in a hospital? All these things, believe it or not, are racist bound. They have a racist undertone to them that people just don't see because most people are white. They don't see what Black people or people of color go through. So the only way to get it out there is to start to talk about it. And people are going to be uneasy. You've seen there's been fights, there's been arguments, but that's the good part because now that means it's coming out. It's coming out, you know, you're getting rid of that festering. So bring it forth. I don't mind the conversation. I've been my color all my life, okay? And I've hit racism from the time that I was a child up until the time I was an adult. And I have no problem confronting it or discussing it.
So let's define our terms here. What do you mean by racism?
Well, you know, yeah, I'm sorry, that is a broad term to be using. Let's see, how can I define racism? Uh, hmm. It's a movement of thought. Okay. Some people don't even know that they're doing something that's considered racist. Okay, because they've been doing it for so long, so they don't know. A racist thing is when you treat another person, to me, different than how you would want to be treated.
Okay.
Okay, that's my form of racism. When I walk into a store, I don't expect to be followed around the store simply because I'm darker or black or dark or even a different race than the white people that own it or the white neighborhood that it's in. Okay, so why are you following me around? Or if you think I'm going to steal something, okay, you didn't follow the white person around that walked in the store. So why are you following me around? So these are things that are racist, but people don't realize it because there's such a stereotype on the race that, and particularly the black race, the animals, they are uneducated, they're thieves, okay? You know, they have no sense of belonging. Those are stereotypes and people believe them. Unfortunately, they believe it. And you can't knock a person for what they believe, but you can talk to them and possibly find out why they believe those things. And it's because they've been taught it since they've been kids, or they've heard it for so long. Oh, it's the truth. It's the truth. No, it's not the truth. We're not these. We're not animals. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Thanks for educating me, because shoot, I thought you were a thief and animal. So now I know. Now I stand corrected. Uh, Actually, I do. There are certain stores I go to in certain neighborhoods that I do expect to be followed around, and I am. To be honest with you, when my hair was longer, I mean, it's long now, but when it
Right.
was down to my waist, it happened in practically every store I went into.
Sure, because they
Now
probably
it's not,
thought,
but even when my hair was short, right? Even when it was short, there were still neighborhoods and there were still stores that I just, okay, there they are again, whatever. Sometimes I would even play with them. Sometimes I would even play with the security, and I would just act like I was trying to steal something. Then I just put it back when I would, before I left, and I sneak a look at them, like, you know.
I usually turn around and say bye.
Okay, so I absolutely agree with you with the idea that the way to handle any sort of not just a black and white perspective and the idea of one culture being better than another,
Mm-hmm.
but really any of societal ills or any and our society can be as small as our family.
True.
Our
Absolutely.
society could be. I have this laptop against the window looking out to my street, and I really feel like my society, aside from my family, my Philadelphian society are the neighbors right here in the street.
Mm-hmm.
And the only effective way, the only healthy way to deal with perceptions and misperceptions is to have the conversation.
Absolutely.
Not to shout somebody down, not to lecture somebody, but to actually talk and find out why they believe what they believe.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's also been my experience that everyone I talk to, everyone, including even what might be described as a rabid racist, there's something I can connect to on that person. I've never found somebody so completely repulsive that I couldn't connect on some level. And once I can find that connection,
Mm-hmm.
aha, then there's a chance of healing. Then there's a chance of
Mm-hmm.
real dialogue. Then there's a chance of
Yes.
growth.
Yes. Once you break through all the BS,
Yeah.
not to go back on anything, but just recently out here in Philadelphia, I don't know if you saw it on the news, in Upper Darby, a police officer posted on, I think it was a Twitter account. He had a confrontation with some residents out there, and he posted on the, oh no, I'm sorry, he made a comment on a video. And what he said was, when can we send these animals back to Africa, is what he said on there. How much will it cost? Let me know. Now, this was an Upper Darby police officer. Now, I'm so happy to say that they have let him go, because, I mean, my thing is, if you have that kind of mentality towards me, how protective are you going to be of me, my family, or my neighbors? If you
That's
have
a
that
very good question.
mentality,
I'm shocked to hear that.
why are you a police officer in a predominantly Black neighborhood then? Okay? You know, why would they even allow him? This is why I believe, yes, they do need to have more of a psychological background test on police officers or just anyone within law enforcement, you know, so there aren't any of these underlying tones that will come out when something like this occurs. So I mean, when I saw that, I was like, I'm not shocked, because Upper Darby and Yaden are known for being racist areas. So, and the cops are known for being more, I guess, violent towards the Blacks in the neighborhood than anyone else.
Okay, so let me ask you this, just because I haven't really, the only time that I really pay attention to the news is what's going on here. I mean, I sign onto the internet, and I get these suggested headlines.
Right. Yes.
Unless there's something really on my mind, I'll scan through the headlines, and if something catches my attention, that's when I follow the news. So how do you know that comment by that officer is legitimate?
Well, they, I don't know if they used his phone or the person that he sent it to, but that person turned it over to his commanding officer, and they showed the actual thread where he made the comment on the video, and it was from his phone. I don't know his name offhand, but it did say Officer so and so, and it had underneath of it from his text, you know, when can we send these animals? How much will it cost to send these animals back to Africa?
Well, that man needs to be removed from his position, no doubt about that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But let me tell you my gut reaction to that, not knowing the officer, not knowing any of the situation involved. Like you said, he's been taught to believe this, and there are neighborhoods within the country that are more dangerous than other neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
And there are cops that like anyone else, they pick the short straw, they get the bad roll of the dice, and they keep winding up in bad situations. So his experience of whoever he's running across, and he's probably has an attitude to back him up that makes things worse, is probably just reinforcing his belief system. So what we need to get at is the root of that belief system, and see if we can you know, course correct him. Give him, a friend of mine would call it a 2-millimeter shift. See if we can give him a 2-millimeter shift to see Blacks in particular, and to see the world in a different light. But it's beyond question that man shouldn't be carrying a gun.
Right. Absolutely.
Beyond question.
And you know, when we were having problems in our neighborhood with our relationship with our law enforcement, we started having different events with them, you know, inviting them to our community events. They would have community events, and, you know, right here in the community, not way down where you have to travel to go get to it. It would be right in their block. The police would come right to their block in their area, you know. So this way you get more of a contact. When you have more of a facial contact with a person, like you say, you get to see who they are. You get to have conversations, so you get a reaction. So you get more of a connection. And that's how we kind of like killed the bad attitude that was in this neighborhood. But another thing too, like I said, you know, I've been this color all my life, so it's not like I'm going to change like a chameleon. And I've always, we've lived in this neighborhood now for about 60 plus years, my family has. And it's a mixed neighborhood, and it's always been mixed. Now the neighborhood seems to be changing. I'm getting a lot more Muslims moving in. There are still some they're whites, and we have some Puerto Ricans, and I think we have one Asian family around here. But there's always there's always someone that has to point out something or make something out of nothing. A young child came up to me, and he said, "Oh, where do you live, white lady?" I said, "Excuse me?" I said, "First of all," I said, "How you doing? What's your name?" He was a little young boy, about maybe 8 years old, and I was working across the street in my garden. And he said, "Well, I live across the street." I said, "Well, guess what? I live right next door to you." "You live next door to me?" I said, "Yes, I do." I said, and I said, "My name is not White Lady." I said, "My name is Miss Deanie." "Oh," I said, "What's your name?" So he told, after we started talking, I eventually asked him, I said, "By the way, why would you call me white?" He said, "Because you are white." I said, "No, honey, I'm not." I said, "I'm not white." I said, "I'm just as black as you are, okay?" I said, "And I know you don't understand this." I said, "But your race is just as wide and varied as the colors of the rainbow." I said, "So don't assume just because a person has light skin that they're white." I said, "Because I'm not white." And he was
I,
like, he was really cute, and he was very apologetic. And he said, "Oh," he said, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call you white." I said, "Oh, it's understandable. You were just taught wrong." And that's all I said. So when I talked to my daughter about it, I said, obviously somebody in his family, because he's too young to make that connection on his own. So someone in his family had been telling him to call people either white or black, to make that distinction. And I told him, I'm not a distinction. I'm your neighbor. I live right next door to you. And he was like, so, it's those kind of conversations, whether
yeah.
it be with a child or with an adult. I've had adult friends when I was in college ask me straight out, "What race are you?" I was like, "Excuse me? I'm the human race. What are you talking about?" I'm in college then. I'm in the human race. There is no other race. What are you talking about? What race am I?
Good for you. I'm really surprised that anybody would think that you're white, even an 8-year-old child.
Oh, yes.
Although
yeah.
I was one of the first people in this area to date outside of my color.
Okay.
I know I was one of the first because of the reactions I got from both white and black. And I remember going into a restaurant one time in the Bourse building, back when they had restaurants, and
Yes.
the black waitress didn't want to serve us.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm and there was another girl that I dated whose sister called her called her banana skin.
Banana.
Banana skin.
Yep.
Yeah. So that to me that was
Yep.
back then, but to
Mm-hmm.
hear this is the first time in decades
Oh, yeah.
I've heard somebody that would make a distinction between light skin black and dark skin black.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And
So that's still a thing,
I
huh?
don't feel that I have to defend my entire family's history just because, I'm a little lighter than you are, or my hair is a little curlier. I don't feel like I have to do that. I'm not here to discuss my ancestral heritage with anyone. Okay. I'm on this planet. I am human. I have a wonderful culture and a wonderful history of families, and I wouldn't give them up for anything in the world. None of them.
Not some years ago, I was doing something. I think I was doing some landscape work somewhere, and the neighbors' kids, where I was at, a bunch of white kids came out, and I forget exactly the nature of the conversation they were talking about. I think somebody, and they dropped the word again. Excuse me, jigaboo, which I
Yes.
haven't heard in ages. And I said, "Hey, you know what, guys? What? I'm a jigaboo." Man, the conversation stopped. It just, and then I said, man, and my family, my goodness, I'm proud of it. And the conversation stopped, and one by one, it was 3 kids. One by one, they left.
No, I haven't heard jigaboo in a long time. That's a southern reference, jigaboos. Now,
My uncle used to use all these words that most of them I had never heard before or since, but that was one of them.
My aunt, God bless her soul, she's passed. She used to use colorful words too all the time now. Now, mind you, Mark, my aunt was about as white as you are, okay? And she has black hair, and she lived to be 95. And she's just as black can be. And people used to always, I guess, favor her because they saw her white skin. But then the minute they saw her kids, who of course are dark because she has a black husband, and immediately you could feel the tension in the room change. You know, like she would walk in and she'd be like, oh, everybody like, oh, how you doing? You know, what can we do for you? You know, this, that, and the other thing. And then when they see the kids running, they go, oh, whose kids are those? She goes, those are my kids. And immediately the smiles would go drop.
Oh my gosh.
And yes, you could feel it. And when we were kids, when we used to all go out with her together, you could feel the change immediately. When people would see her, like I said, my aunt about as white as you are, and then we'd walk in and they go, oh, well, whose kids are these? And then she'd be like, well, these are my 2 girls and these are my nieces. And immediately you could feel, well, we're going to have to change your seat, you know, we're going to put you over here now and this, that. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Like I said, racism is so prominent in this country. I cry because Trump has allowed it to rise to the top again, to the form where it's like the foam on the top of the beer. And all it does is bubble, 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 bubble. But we're not getting anything done. And that's because we don't have a leader in any top office or president to say these things are not what the country is about. This is not what we as a people are. Our Constitution says we the people, not we the black people, we the white people, or we the Indians. It's we the people, all of us. So we're all supposed to live according to or under this Constitution and abide by how are we going to survive as a nation if we can't heal this one wound, this one point of racism. If we can't get past this, I don't know how we expand to go anyplace else, because let's face it, we're everywhere. I don't want to say we're like shit. We're everywhere, okay? But Black people are everywhere. They're in the economy. They're in your schools. They're in your educational forums. We're everywhere. So how are you going to not include us in policies or in any type of laws that would affect us, even as an individual or as a country? And this is what fires me up so much when I talk to the young people in my neighborhood about getting out there and voting. If you don't vote, you just don't count. And you sit there and you moan and you cry, but you know what? You're missing the time now to vote on things that are going to affect you 10, 20 years down the line. And you need to be in on it now. You need to follow your politicians now, because if you don't follow politics, you're going to be left out. I mean, it took me a while to actually get a grasp on if I wanted to be in politics or not. And as a community activist, people always ask me, oh, don't you want to run for office? Hell no. I don't want to be involved. I got too many skeletons in my closet, on top of my closet, in the skeleton, behind the skeleton, that I don't want people to know about. You understand? I don't want to be poked and prodded, but I don't want to be lost in the system. I want to make sure that my voice is heard. And so I try to speak as loud as I can when I go to community meetings for or against anything. So my voice is there. And whether it be just my voice, hopefully I'm speaking for people within this community that want the things, that the changes, or want to move forward in any type of improved situation.
So I'm hoping that I can get to talk about police and about Trump. But the big thing I want to, the main thing I want to address right now is we both had mentioned this, that people are taught what to believe.
Yes.
And when they get into they often they'll put themselves in certain circumstances that will reinforce what they believe. So it has, we both alluded to this. It's not just whites, some whites who are bigoted that are reinforced in their bigoted notions, but also the blacks. There are a
Mm-hmm.
number of blacks that I know that
No trust at all.
banana yellow skin, or you're not
Mm-hmm.
white, you're not black, you're white. And a number of blacks that's a number of people, period, that just accept that they're being battered about and that they have no agency. Like you were saying, they don't want to go out and vote. They have no
Yes.
agency, and all they, not all they, but what they primarily do, instead of owning that agency and getting out and doing something proactive, productive, having these conversations, being a community activist, just say, oh, it's their fault, we can't do anything about it,
Right.
and just be angry.
Absolutely. And this is why I tell the young people, you know, if you don't go out and vote, you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. Okay. And then you sit back and you complain. For instance, you know, I know some young voters that didn't vote in the last election. And I tell them all the time, well, you guys are the reason why Trump is in there, because you didn't go out and vote. I don't care whether you voted for Trump or whoever the other candidate is, at least your vote is in, and you would feel better about it. Not sit here and mope and complain, oh, he's doing nothing, all he does is this and that. Well, you know, you don't get out and vote. How's your voice going to be heard if you're sitting home and complaining? You have to go vote. Like I said, I don't care who you vote for, as long as you go and vote, but don't vote for the wrong candidate. Let's face it now, Trump is definitely what they say, a hands-on, see type of thing. There's no way in hell that man should get back in office. I put it in video, I say it, that man is a disaster. He is no good for this country. He hasn't done anything for this country. His father was a manipulator and for gangsters, and that's all he's doing, is manipulating this country into believing that we're doing okay. That's why he's trying to push everything back so that the economy looks good, because that's all he has to run on right now.
Sounds like what you're saying, the best way to heal America is to get rid of Trump.
That's one way, yes. He is
okay.
A virus.
So I need to say this. Okay.
Go ahead.
I just need to say it. First of all, I'm not a Trump fan. I've made that clear many times on social media and to people that I speak to, because Trump, I forget the word you use, but he's definitely a narcissist. The man. He's a narcissist, he's paranoid, he's histrionic. That's 3 personality disorders that I can find with him, okay? He's like a 5-year-old in the candy shop. That said, every time that Trump has been taken apart by the media and, say, people on the street because of something he said, I always want to find out exactly what he said. So I try to find those videos on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And while, for example, while he did say good people on both sides, talking about Charleston, right?
Yes.
He also said, listen, I'm against Nazis. I repudiate them. They are no good for the country. I absolutely am against them. The Constitution is for all people. It's not about one social. I think he used the word race, which I don't like. He used it's not about one race. It's about all of us. Everything that I've heard people say that he said and hasn't said anything against, I found video evidence that he said the exact opposite.
And that's usually what it is. He'll say one thing, and then by the time he comes back and tries to correct himself,
No. What I'm saying is, like with the Charleston thing, it was actually the first thing he said.
Right. The good people on both sides.
No, the first thing he said was bad people. This is bad. This is bad. I'm against them. I'm against Nazis. I'm not going to say anything. I don't want anything to do with them.
Right,
The
because
first thing he said.
people were accusing him of being towards the white supremacist groups and the Nazis groups. The people thought he was more or less for them. So that's why he put that statement out that he's not for them, that they're bad people. But I don't believe that. I believe
Right. He did put that statement out because I guess he had to. It's kind of like saying, of course, Black Lives Matter.
To clean up his act is what they did, and that's why whenever Trump has a speech, the minute you can tell when he goes off speech because he starts talking stupid. Okay, all right.
I agree to this.
Tell when he's off.
I agree to this. I agree to this. But he's not the bigoted monster that people paid him to be. I've been following him ever since the campaign.
Uh-huh.
A narcissist, histrionic, paranoid, but not a bigot. The only really issue that I disagree with him on domestically is how he's treating people at the border.
Yes, with the with the walls and
unfortunately, from my point of view, is that Biden scares the heck out of me.
Okay.
Biden is not, he's not there. He's nothing but a puppet. I have seen him, I have watched him so many times just fumble in what he's trying to say in his speeches. It's like somebody needs to get him back onto point every single time.
Well, I hate to bring up age in the factor, but let's face it, he is almost what, 70?
As is Trump. 70? I would love to see a viable third candidate.
Yeah, and that's what never came out when the
Would you run, please?
Another woman? Oh hell no! They're not. This country isn't ready for a woman president, and that's obvious. We can't even get past racism. How the hell are we going to get a woman in the seat? Okay, now that's another.
Okay, so let me ask you this. There is a growing. It's labeled a Black conservative movement, but it actually involves conservatives and libertarians, and even Democrats who are questioning the narrative. And so they believe they distinguish between the left and the right, because I've watched a lot of videos about this. They make that that distinction by saying the left wants somebody else to do things for you, usually the government, whereas the right says, hey, you do for yourself. You trust in God, you build up your community, whatever it may be. For me, my neighbors on my street, my family, my immediate family. I have an extended family of Black stills, some of whom I am very close to. One of them is a preacher and a leader in the Mount Laurel, New Jersey community. I love and respect him to no end. But what do you think about these folks who are actively saying, don't listen to this nonsense. Don't listen to the nonsense that you are being held down. Don't listen to the idea that it's all racism and it's all the white man's fault. We have to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. I tell people.
Basically, Malcolm X said the same thing.
Absolutely, he sure did. Yes. And, I keep reiterating in myself, even in this neighborhood, my little community, I tell people all the time, this is your community. No one's going to come in here and fix it up. No one's going to come in here and clean it up. No one's going to come in here and help you up financially. You have to help yourself. You have to get out there, do your own, sweep up your own payment. Fix your own, because like in my neighborhood, I try to keep the blight out of the neighborhood because it can very easily become a trash swamp. I have a huge lot across the street from me that I maintain, and a couple of years ago, somebody literally parked a trash truck on it, and there was so much garbage coming off of it. And I'm telling you, we had raccoons, possums, rats, squirrels, birds, you name it. Everything in the world was over there. And my house is right across the street from it. I must have advocated for almost a year to get that truck out of here. And it finally took threatening to take this to the news media to get some type of help from the city to come in and move that truck. When they came in to move the truck, Mark, they used a bulldozer to move the truck and collect all the trash that was over there. So 3 ladies and myself, we started a little campaign where we had a neighborhood of people that build things around here for us. We had to make some signs for us that says, respect your neighborhood. And we started with the kids. Again, it's what you're taught. Sometimes by the time kids are 12 and 18 and adults, they've already formed their opinions. So it's another form of teaching or, conversating with them. But with kids, you can teach them things. We teach them respect the flowers we put in there. This is your block. Don't let anybody come in here and tear up your flowers or tear up your signs or throw trash around. So it's things that are taught when you're young that you need, that you will take into your adulthood. So with that in mind, you have to go to, I guess, the actual core and get to the core and teach from there. You got to teach out from the core, because right. you can't like people that I don't want to say that, and this is not just a black thing here or just a white thing. It's people in general, because there are still black people that believe, yes, I'm here because of the white man. It's the white man's fault. There are still people that won't deal with City Hall because, oh, that's the white man's establishment. But see, if you don't deal, guess what? You're left out. You're left out. I learned a long time ago that you can't fight an establishment from the outside. You got to get in it. You got to join it. You got to be in there, because if you're not on the outside, you don't hear everything. You only get what they throw out. But on the inside, you get to hear everything. You get to be right there when things happen. So this way you can react to it right then and there, and not 10 minutes after, not 10 days after, or even 10 years after. Okay? Because by that time it's too late. So I like to be right in where the core is at. Yes, I'm into the fire. I go right into the fire. And I sit right there, and I'll be right there with the fire, and I will hack it out. I will be there. I'm not a person to back down from a conversation, because I enjoy talking. I like talking, and I know when I talk to people, you get a more of a feel of where they're coming from, where their head is at. Because I've had some black friends I've talked with too, and they're like, oh, well, I wouldn't do that because I'm just about me. Well, that's okay if you're about you. But how is just you affecting your community or your family? Okay? You can't be a hermit in this world. You have to come out of your shell. Okay? You can't hide from things. You got to come out of your shell. You got to come out and see the world.
I have read many statistics from many different sources that black women entrepreneurs or among the most successful entrepreneurs in the country, and they I'm trying to think of how to say this, that they are far and above, let's say, white women entrepreneurs. There's something about the spirit, and at least for my purposes, I'm going to include community activists in that, because that's a business of itself. There's something about the black woman, female entrepreneurial spirit that I think, and I've known a lot of black women entrepreneurs, that I think that all of society could benefit from getting to know these people and tapping into their spirit, and perhaps having them gravitate toward more larger leadership positions.
Oh, absolutely. There was just recently again on TV, they just announced there was the first black business ever at Penn's Landing, and it's owned by a woman.
Yeah.
And it was she looked fabulous. She looked so happy, and her spirit was so good that you could feel it coming through the TV, just the way that she talked about her product, how happy she was to be there. And it's not a big business. It looks like it's just a small cart, but she is the first Black business, period, ever on Penn's Landing, and it's a woman.
God bless.
There's another place, I think it was, I want to say, it was either South Philly or Kensington. Another Black woman. She started her business, and it was like just like a smoothie business, a sandwich business, but her business spoke about something. Like she would have sandwiches like the George Washington sandwich, or she would have something like, it was called a Blue Rhino drink. The Blue Rhino drink was to bring light to the fact that the blue rhino is almost an extinct animal.
I love
So
it.
I like the way she thought. You know, everything she had in there was for a political reason or for a background to notify you or to bring your attention to something. And that's what I liked about that. There are a lot of, I want to say too now, a lot of Black women go into business out of need, okay, because they need to take care of their family. They need income, okay.
I was about to go there, but yeah, go ahead, please.
They need that income because they're not getting it from the workforce, okay. Some of them may not be educated, okay, enough to make it far in the workforce, but they have a talent or they have a particular skill that they can work on. When I was younger, I was always a single mom. When I was younger, I was struggling. I had my daughter, and I sent my daughter to Catholic school, and I worked 2 jobs, sometimes almost 3, to make sure that she stayed in school. And I went to a friend one day, and I asked this person, a male, I said, I'm having difficulty. Is there any way that I could get a loan from you, for about $1,000 for, to get my daughter's tuition caught up? Now, I've known this person for almost, I want to say almost 15 years by that time. And we're good friends. We know, back and forth. We've been to each other's homes, everything. I knew his son. He knew my daughter. And he turned to me and he very nicely said, if I give you this $1,000 today, what are you going to do in another 3 months when you might need $1,000? He said, what you need to do is take a skill that you have, something that you're good at, and sell it. Promote it. He said, do that. And I started a cleaning business when I was in, Ashley might have been about in grade school, about 5th grade. I started my own cleaning business. I would go and clean houses right after I would come in from work. And sometimes I would do it on Saturdays after I did my second job on Saturdays. And I did that because of a need. Now, as I got older, and she got into high school, I couldn't always do the cleaning. So I worked on my second best skill was my baking. I started selling baked goods and dinners from my home. So, I mean, sometimes you have to rely and go back to those skills. And it's funny because I come from a big family. There's 9 of us. My father taught every last one of my brothers something else besides getting a job. Because he said, there are going to be times when you're going to need that you're going to need not only to fix your home, but you may need to go out and make extra money. So that knowing that you can do electricity, that you can do carpentry, that you can, do landscaping, gives you a skill that somebody's going to pay for you. So and my father he didn't draw lines. In our family, everybody did the same thing. Girls and boys did the same thing. So if the girls had to get up there and do the dishes, the boys had to get up there and do the dishes. If the guys had to take out the trash, and the girls had to take out the trash. I have 7 brothers, and there's only 2 girls, okay? So you can see how much work we did. We didn't do too much. The girls didn't do too much, but we were taught that and when you're younger, and then he just reinforced it to me when my friend reinforced it to me when I was going through hard times. And after that, yeah, I didn't ask anymore for any more money from him. I used my own sources. And as I got older, now in my retirement years, I was thinking again of opening up a bakery. And It's so funny, right before the pandemic happened, yeah. I was in the process of working through a small business organization, and they were helping me to get my thoughts together, get my proposals together. Every time I pick a location over West Philadelphia, somebody seems to take it. And it seems like there are a lot of, this is a high entrepreneurial zone around here because of the colleges that are here. People are snatching up businesses, particularly on the Lancaster Avenue corridor like crazy. So I want to get one of those businesses up there, and I want to open what I want to call my cafeteria style bakery is what
Well,
I
you
would
need
like.
to let me know because I'll be one of your first customers.
Oh, thank you. I certainly will send out notices when I get it all up and running.
But you
Yes,
see
but
that
you know, but this is what I'm saying. Black people sometimes get try to start a business out of a need, not so much out of, oh, I want to own a business, okay, or
right.
that somebody gave me a business, all right, which is a lot of times people inherited, like a barbershop could be passed down, excuse me, from sons or to daughters, or if they have it, you know. But in the Black community, there aren't too many Black established businesses. When we moved around here, Lancaster Avenue was predominantly Jewish. All the businesses on Lancaster Avenue were Jewish. Now it's going through another phase where predominantly all the businesses on Lancaster Avenue are Asian American. And I belong to the Lola 21 Foundation. That's how I was getting into the business side of it, to see what businesses were on Lancaster Avenue, and do my little bit of history, my little bit of work to find out what exactly where best would my bakery be best suited at, what kind of a response am I going to get from the neighborhood. So it was a lot of things, but now the businesses a lot are owned by Asian Americans, only because, again, financially, Black Americans were never approved for any type of loans that were for a business. They were always turned down because they didn't show the stability to be able to run it, or the stability to be able to maintain it financially. So a lot of time Black businesses are grown out of a need, and they're more skill-based personally. Like the woman with the shop that she had her sandwiches and her smoothies, but she used it politically to make statements by the way she made her sandwiches, which I really love. And then, there are other, like the woman down at Penn's Landing, how long has she been striving? How long has she been trying to get down there is the real story. Not that she's the first Black business down there, but how long have others before her even tried to get to be a Black business on Penn's Landing?
See, that's I love this because that's the essence of, as I understand it, that's the essence of Black conservatism, that despite the obstacles, you find a way because you can, because you have that innate strength.
Mm-hmm.
One of the saddest things that I've ever witnessed, I used to, when I first moved back from Poland, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I lived in Poland for 5 years, 2001 to 2006. I took a job starting in 2007 at a GED school in Loganani. And
Okay.
every single one of my students, and I'm talking about, we had as many as perhaps 60 or more students, none of whom would actually appear 2 days in a row. I never knew what the mix would be day to day, but not one of them, Terrell, had a father at home.
Oh, yes.
Not one. So when you're talking, I'm going deeper into this. So when you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about a need, where the
Mm-hmm.
heck are the Black fathers? And
They're
we're
all,
talking.
you know what?
I'm talking about certain urban
Mm-hmm.
community.
Absolutely.
That's
I
a
understand.
huge problem.
Right. And the absence of a father is always it's been a huge problem in Black families for years. Okay. Um, well, I guess, I guess I would be part of that problem, because as a single mom, yes, I have a daughter, and she is by a Black man, but he is not in her life. He has never been in her life. I try to incorporate him in, because I come from a family where family is the father and the mother and the child, okay? Or you have a family, you have that connection between the two people. And even though I'll go so far as to say I liked her father, but I, I didn't like him enough, Mark, to go through what I could see that he was not capable of doing. He had no idea what it was like to take care of a family. So I don't know if that was the fault of his being taught, okay, how he was
He knew
taught.
how to have sex. We know that much.
Yeah, he knew how to have that, okay, but he had no sense of taking care of the family, taking care of a home. His idea of working was to work a couple months, and then I'll quit, collect unemployment,
Yeah.
and see, I couldn't be bothered with that. Unfortunately, in my
So
family,
excuse me.
yeah.
So so they're circling back to what we said in the beginning about
Right.
people being taught certain things.
Mm-hmm.
If you're growing up in a poor, hard scrambled neighborhood and you don't have a father and your mom is just struggling to make ends meet,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to learn the right lessons.
No, and it doesn't make you want to go to school, because guess what? School didn't do anything for me. School
Right.
ain't helping me, and trying to keep Black kids in school is a very hard agenda, because you have to sell them the school. It's like you got to sell them the idea of the education that they're going to get.
Right.
At one point there was a big push for Black kids to go to college. Now all of a sudden you notice there's not such a big push anymore. It's like, okay, well, you can do the same thing at home. You can go get a job, or you can go out here. A lot of Black kids do not believe in going to college. They are not going to go to college. If they are not groomed for that idea from their grade school, that getting them through high school is the hardest part. All right.
Unfortunately, I've known a lot of Black kids that speak they speak proudly with great joy in the idea of dropping out of high school. And some of them
Yes.
I've already dropped out of high school. Yeah, I had to do
Oh
that.
yeah.
That was the best choice for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I dropped out. I dropped out in ninth grade, and look at me. I'm doing fine. But look at you. You're on the street. You're on the. And to them, that's the light. Because
Yeah.
guess what? I'm going to make money out here. I'm going to make money. But how long are you going to live? Okay, on the street, your lifeline might be as young as 25, 21 before somebody kills you, takes you out, or you end up in jail. Is that what you want, the rest of your life in jail? So, it's a real hard sell to get kids, particularly Black youth, into school. It's something that I think that has to be instilled by the parent. It has to come from the parent. Again, if it doesn't start at the parent level, with them pushing for the school, for them to push to do well, that it's not going to sink in. It's like, not to compare anyone to a dog, but when you train a dog to do certain things for you. Now, the dog doesn't do it for other people though. So if the person tries to make the dog do it, the dog doesn't do it, and they reprimand the dog, of course the dog's going to bite them. So when you get kids, you're trying to teach your child to go to school. You want your child to go to school. So when someone else that doesn't have that spirit or that momentum that you're giving to your child, they don't bring that to your child, then they back off. They like, oh, well, my mom says I don't have to go to school, or my mom says I only have to go to 8th grade, and after that, or my mom says I'm a man at 16 and I don't have to go to school anymore. But if the mom says, look, damn it, at 16 you are not a man, you still live in my house, you're going to school. Okay, so somebody has to put the foot down, and unfortunately in a Black family it's always the woman, because again,
Yeah.
the man is not there. Now I don't know what
I
makes
have heard
the man
that
run.
thousands
I
of
don't know.
times.
I don't know. I myself, as a woman, has often wondered why Black men don't stick around, why they don't, want to see their families succeed. And again, it's because of the way that they are taught. Who taught them? Okay, let's
Right.
face it. A lot of got to go back a little bit now, because a lot of Black families, their kids were raised by a grandma. Okay, and now that grandma can instill some fire in you. Okay, if she's got that spirit, she'll instill fire in you and make you go where you need to go. But if you don't have a grandma like that, you got a grandma that's just barely, getting you up in the morning, getting you some food on the table. You see her struggling. It could work both ways. You seeing her struggle could make you get out there and push more. I don't want my grandma or my family to be like this. I want my family to be able to live. I want my family to be able to be in a home. I don't want my family in the projects, okay? I want my family in a house. I don't want them to be living off of welfare. I want to be able to give my kids and tell them, go to the store and get what you want. So it's how again, they're taught.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of our Black men, that they've been talked down to, they've been demeaned, they've been stereotyped, so they don't have the best self-esteem. So your self-esteem and your ability to put yourself out there, because let's face it, when you get out there, you know, bam, 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 you're going to get hit from all sides. So this living, just being out there. So you got to be able to handle this. And if you can't handle that, if your psyche, so to say, is so fragile that if one person confronts you, that you totally break down, then how good are you to your family?
Exactly.
You know, like I say, I come from a big family, 9 of us, and my brothers, they would never. All my brothers are with their wives. Okay, not that that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's you know, it's the way that it is. But they take care of their families. And for the 1 or 2 that's got a couple of the kids outside or before they got married, they take care of those kids also. So you know, I like my brothers because they have good values. I see that they respect a woman. They respect themselves by giving themselves out there. They got good educations. They got good jobs. You know, they're still good people in their community. My one brother he works for SEPTA, but he also has his own electrical business. He's taught his son his electrical business. Now his son has something to work with because his son now has kids. Yeah. He got his son a job with SEPTA. So, you know, sometimes, you know, it takes a helping hand, where in the Black family, you don't always have that helping hand.
He's got kids, he's got confidence, he's got skills.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
So we have to bring this to a close. Before I started recording, I told you that all my other conversations just ended organically, but with you, we could go on. I don't know, maybe sometime we can have a sequel to this if you're up to it.
Oh, I don't mind. Like I said, I enjoy talking. You know, I like to put things out, and I like to hear other people's opinion. You know, because my opinion is just that, it's an opinion. Okay, so I don't mind going back and forth talking. I like hearing what other people think about whether it be race or whether it be education. You know, or if it be just something as simple as getting around and finding a store or opening a business. Like I said, I'm going back as soon. We're starting our Zoom meetings again with the Small Business Association, and like I told you, I'm very active in just about everything that comes past my table. I have joined, or I'm a part of, as a board member or as a member.
You're an inspiration, no doubt about it.
So I just like to. I'd like to keep my neighborhood informed. I don't want us to be left out. You know, as a senior, I want our seniors to know what's going on.
And you've taken the responsibility to do that. That's fantastic.
I enjoy it.
I'm sure you're not the only one in the neighborhood to do it, but the fact is, when you look around and you say, okay, I'm going to do this because not enough people are doing it. There's information that needs to be out there. There needs to be an example out there. There needs to be an example of values out there. I'm going to be that person.
I'm going to be that person. That's right. And, you know, I have my good days and my bad days. Some days I wake up and I be like, F it. I'm so tired. I don't feel like doing this.
Yes.
But then I turn around and I say, you know what? I'm not going to let somebody beat me down from something that I like to do, something that I enjoy. So I could care less what anybody thinks or anybody says. I do because I want to.
So if I may, I would say the summary of the points that we agree on is that to heal America, you have the conversations, you teach self-sufficiency, you teach self-confidence.
Yes.
And you be that role model, you be the example.
There has to be a role model somewhere, yes.
In fact, that's, as far as having the conversations, as I said before, I don't know how I'm going to post them, but as far as having these 8 conversations, that's what all of us have agreed on. Okay. So, well,
Mark, whenever you're ready, I'm ready to do round 2.
You are wonderful. Thank you very much. So I'm going to sign off here to again, my audience of 2. Stay online because I still want to talk to you. So thank you, everybody. As I always say, peace, 4 fingers, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.